Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Melbourne Business Network webinar series, Designing Your Website with WebOracle. We have session 3 today and the final session in this series. Talk about e-commerce and how that can convert visitors to buyers and doing that quickly. I'm Anita Botel and your host today, and a special shout out to Wendy Dawson, the Melbourne Business Network President, who also joins us today. Now, before we get started, as we are still gathering in person, I'd like to officially recognise the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Just a little bit about the Melbourne Business Network. We're a member-based organisation operating since 1994, and we facilitate connections, communication and collaboration with businesses that contribute to the economic development of the municipality of Melbourne. And we reward best practice through the annual B3000 Awards program. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We are recording today, so please ensure that your microphones are on mute. We have set aside time for questions at the end of the session, so feel free to pop your questions into the chat box and also your LinkedIn URL so you can connect with other people on the webinar today. Now, as I said, today's topic is e-commerce explained and how it can convert visitors to buyers quickly. I'd like to introduce now Michael Tricolta, founder and managing director of WebOracle, an Australian owned and operated business that's specifically set up to fill a gap in the marketplace by providing Australian small businesses IT and online solutions. Michael's going to take us through why essentially everybody with a website needs to understand the importance of the integration of e-commerce and the effect on their business. Now, in session 1, we talked about how to create a great online user experience with web design. Session 2, we delved into the underlying importance of web development on the user experience. And today, Michael will start the session with a summary of those key takeouts and then move on to today's session. Michael, fantastic to have you join us again. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Anita, and welcome everybody. So what I'll do is I'll start off with by sharing my screen, if that's okay, and I'll just bring that up on screen. Okay, so welcome to today's webinar, which is our final instalment, Understanding E-commerce and Converting Visitors to Buyers Quickly. What we'll do is we'll do a little bit of a recap of the last 2 webinars and what they were all about. So webinar agenda, recap on the first and second and the key takeouts, a case study example, and we're going to use a startup basically that was an e-commerce platform, and it was online exclusively, that turned into an absolute monster of a company within 4 short years, and you'll find this one quite entertaining. And what we're going to discuss are some of the tools that this company used, which every company should use, whether they are an e-commerce company, online company or not. They certainly are valuable tools in communicating your business, your services and your product. Key ways to drive e-commerce sales, and key takeouts, and finally we'll get to some questions and answers at the end. All right, so just recap of webinar 1, website design and key takeouts from that, just sort of taking it back to our first webinar. And what you need. So having an online strategy to grow your business. All of these 3 webinars are designed to keep progressing along to give you a result at the end in terms of a website that is functional, that is providing you with exposure, but more importantly, connecting with your clients and giving you the ability to grow your business. Work with a professional team. I can't ever stress that enough. Work with a professional team, listen to their expert advice, and your website and your platform will grow over time as long as you have that connection with a team that has various touch points inside the organisation. That's critical in any successful website's exposure. Provide a great user experience. We touched on that in our first design process, making sure that your products, your services have a hierarchy, and that that user experience is really easy to navigate, whereby people want to stay engaged and they can navigate around the site without any issue, and they're never more than 1 or 2 clicks away from any piece of information that is important on your website to them. Marketing your product, there's no use having a website that's that you've spent all this money on and it's just sitting out in space and not doing anything, or not providing you a connection with your potential audience, especially if you're not a high street shop. It becomes more difficult. So your level of exposure needs to be front and center in terms of being on Google and being found for all the right key terms or keyword phrases that are associated with your business, whether you're a B2B or a B2C, online through Google channels, through various social channels, etc. So they're the key takeouts through our first webinar. Our second webinar was pretty much the next part of how we go about building in functionality, etc. So choosing the right content management system to make sure that it's easy for you to be able to make changes, or the company that you work with can make those changes on your behalf. That is critical to the process. Generally, we always suggest trying to use an open source, something that's off the shelf, quick and easy to use, because most websites that are built out there that are service or product based generally can work with an open source based platform, such as WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, etc. And identifying functionality sets, making sure that what you're building has the right functionality in order to communicate exactly what you're trying to achieve. So knowing what you're trying to do, associating that functionality into your website build to make sure people can, or your visitors can literally navigate through using that functionality set quite easily. Test your website before you go live. Always test, making sure that it operates well before you go live. You certainly don't want anything going pop when you go live. And choose the right server company who can provide you with that good security and support. That's another critical element where we've seen lots of businesses over the years, choose a really, I guess, a less expensive alternative to find that it's sitting somewhere in a different part of the world with no technical support provided, which basically means your site could potentially go down for a day or two, or there might be a 48-hour turnaround. In most cases, server companies only host your site. You still need to be able to have that technical support component always implemented in order to make sure that your website's up and running, that all of your components are well kept and up to date. Remember that all off-the-shelf components and plugins require maintenance. It's no different to a vehicle going in for a service. You want to make sure that these things are kept up on a regular basis. Implementation of your Google tracking. So this ties back into making sure that you're marketing your site, that you're getting it out front of center of your potential client group, and making sure that you can track your client group. So having Google Tag Manager and setting up tracking on your website will allow you to basically track all of your clients and where they're coming from, especially. And then what you can do is you can take that information or that data and repurpose it in a way that you can create bespoke campaigns moving forward for that particular target audience. And obviously create better content that's more suited to that target audience. So they're the fundamental key takeouts of the last 2 webinars. So I guess moving forward, how do you attract e-commerce website traffic and improve your conversions? So there's many ways you can do it. There is a list of 101 items that items that we basically follow in order to make sure that we're able to communicate with our client base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with showing you a video made by a chap called Michael Dubin, who is an American guy that started off a company called Dollar Shaver Club. Some of you may or may not have heard of this particular product. All he did was sell one product. That's all he did. He sold one product. He had a very, very limited budget in terms of his website, the production of his video, which you're about to see, and literally only enough money to purchase the product. So what he did is he came up with an ingenious idea to use all of the touch points that we're about to discuss and implement them into this particular video, and then repurposed this video across all of these various touch points, and it generated 27 million views and still counting. His first week, it was over 10 million views. Now, if that's not good exposure, then I don't know what is. He kept the company he started off in 2011, 12, towards the end of 2012, with a budget, I think it was $30,000 or $40,000 in around there. And he sold it in 2018 for $1 billion. And this is a great story of how you do something on a shoestring budget. So what I'll do is I'll show you this video. You can all have a look, and then I'll get into some more additional information. So just bear with me and I'll share this screen. No. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, Pop-Up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
So that's dollarshaveclub.com.
Welcome, Mighty.
Okay, so that was a great example of a chap that started off a company with no budget and really made it work. He wrote that entire script, produced it, and a group of friends got together to film it. So all of those guys in that actual in that clip were friends. So it was on a very, very limited budget. I think it cost all up $4,000 for the day to actually shoot the whole thing and put it together. So what I'll do is I'll go into the next part of our discussion, key ways to drive e-commerce sales. Target your existing audience. This is what Dollar Shave Club, Michael at Dollar Shave Club did. He targeted his existing audience. He started off the company to build a customer database and maintain that regular contact. So it's really important to make sure that whatever you do is within your business, whether it's a B2B or whether it's a B2C or whether it's e-commerce, it's so important to keep maintaining that regular contact and growing your database. Advertise and get social, including influence marketers. They're so important. Shavers for sale, basically creating opportunities on Google Shopping is a very important component. So Google Shopping is basically whenever you type in, sorry, I'm just having glitches today, my apologies, but Google Shopping is whenever you type in for a particular product and you can actually see the little items or the item that you've typed in on the side of the Google search that you have. So there's an image and then it takes you to a website of that product. So using all of these different types of platforms can certainly help you, but social is an incredibly influential one. And social was really what launched that particular clip. It wasn't Google advertising. Google advertising was underpinned further down the track, but where it went viral was on on YouTube, and then it just literally filtered onto Facebook, and within a matter of weeks it was at 10 million or so, and still counting, and they're at 27 million at the moment. So that's been a really important part of getting that information out. So if you've got something that you think's worthwhile, if you can create a story behind anything or your product that is inspiring, interesting, and obviously funny, you've definitely got a connection. So, sorry, here we go. Just bear with me. I think we've lost the presentation screen, haven't we? There we go. Share that. Right. So let me bring that back up. Apologies. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, video content. So video content's been a very important component in certainly driving the traffic for Dollar Shaver Club. Incentivizing your buyers also is a critical component to making sure that you keep people engaged with your product. Sending them, once you sent them out a package, it's worthwhile dropping in a little bit of a thank you note for purchasing our product and incentivize them to want to come back. That is a 101 takeout for any e-commerce platform. Post-purchase follow-ups, that's also key to ensuring that your clients stay in contact with you and you stay in contact with them, making sure that they're happy with the product that's been provided or the service that has been provided. And we've got some additional information on a lot of this information here on our website in way of an ebook, which you can definitely download. So I guess the key takeouts out of this particular webinar are create content and video. Create content that's really pertinent to your product and make sure that it's unique. Video is such a powerful tool in terms of communicating to your audience. More and more people are, or companies are using video for the reason is there's just so much content out there that it becomes very difficult to sit there and read through things on a regular basis. And one of the ways you can definitely connect video is into your newsletters and keeping your people or your clients really engaged through some really interesting campaigns that you can certainly circle around once a month. Campaign marketing on Google Shopping, creating a list of products that you have or services in certain situations through Google AdWords is a great way to connect with your audience. It's a really quick, instant way of attracting business. You are found instantly, and Google literally put you up front and center of all of your clients by simply working with a company that can identify your target audience. Database marketing, that's a huge one. You should always be concentrating on building your database. Databases are one of the most important parts of any business, especially if you're not a high street business. As I always say, you really got to work on connecting with your database. If you're an accounting firm, it's not like someone can just walk past your business and automatically just find you online. Walking past your business and find you on a high street. Where they will find you is online, and once you've made that connection, you need to make sure that you stay connected and communicate with your audience, because it's as simple as one of your clients passing on that newsletter to another potential client, and that's where your business grows. So making sure that you've got that database and growing it is critical to the whole process of good housekeeping for websites. Social campaign strategies. Not everyone needs a social campaign strategy, but in most cases, it does help, especially if you have a product. Now, if you can get a product and come up with a great story associated with a product and communicate it in a way that is really engaging, it has the potential to go viral, just like Dollar Shave Club did. And it can certainly take effect very, very quickly. So having a good strategy around your social campaign is critical. Not all social platforms are necessarily ideal for every business, but certain ones are. So if you're more of a service-based type industry, LinkedIn might be a great social platform that you could use. If you're a product-based business in e-commerce, you definitely want to go down the path and have a look at Facebook and also Instagram, because they're really quick ways to communicate what you do, whether it be through a video or a simple post that describes your product. So social campaigns are really key in terms of getting some really good, strong engagements out of any campaign. And send regular newsletters. Newsletters are so important. I don't know anyone that doesn't send out a newsletter that has a successful online business. There is a trick to doing them, though. You don't want to overdo them, and it's got to be information that is pretty valuable to the recipient. So segmenting your audience and pigeonholing people into their preferred interests or types of services that they prefer is really critical. There's nothing worse than getting information on a piece of or on an item or a product that it has no relevance to you whatsoever. So having, segmenting your database to various sections and then creating specific newsletters for them on a monthly basis is probably an acceptable time frame. So not too regularly, but regularly enough so people find it interesting each time that they do receive some newsletters. So I know it's been a little bit of a quick and staggered type of webinar, but I'm happy to take some questions now, Anita, if that suits.
Thanks, Michael. Again, there's so much information here. It's hard to, I think for small businesses, it's really difficult to get your head around, like, what's the most important thing, given time, resources, budget resources. Is there one element that we should be focusing on first and foremost that would make the biggest difference initially?
Yes, so getting everything right, teeing everything up correctly, making sure, there's some e-commerce, I guess the takeouts here is really a culmination of everything that we've sort of discussed in the last 2 webinars to get everything on point, ready to go. And really the key takeout here is really staying connected with your audience and finding creative ways to communicate with them on a regular basis that really spikes their interest, but keeps them connected with you and wanting to receive information.
Yeah, I guess the key word there is creative, isn't it? Like, not everybody has creative resources or, creative brain when it comes to writing that sort of thing. Would you advocate using an agency for that sort of thing? Or do you think that generally talking about the things that are important to your business are going to be interesting enough for your audience?
Yes, and agencies are really good at putting together a creative campaign that lasts for 12 months and working out what you're trying to do. Everything's about understanding who your audience is. As I always say, you can't be all things to everybody at the end of the day. What you need to be looking at is who your audience is, what's the demographic, and then coming up with creative ways with an agency that can still be cost effective. It can be very cost effective in way of a 12-month campaign that yields some KPIs as well. So you want to make sure that you're getting the results along the way that convert to those KPIs that you're looking to achieve against the dollar spend that you're putting into an agency. So having a creative agency that can put something together or a strategy for you together that touches on all those points, whether it be video content, whether it be social media marketing, whether it be AdWord campaigns, there needs to be some sort of messaging around that. Without a message, you really don't have a campaign. It's very much like a TV commercial, whereby there's always a message. They condense it down to 15, 30, 45 second intervals, but within that interval, you've definitely got some type of messaging. E-commerce is no different online. If you can create those campaigns and using those touch points like newsletters and then communicating them through your database that you're building on a regular basis is critical to the process. But as I said earlier, it can be very cost effective just having an internal team, not an internal team, but an agency that can come up and draw some circles around what those ongoing campaigns look like. And then what you can actually do is you can repurpose them pretty much the following year as well and just tweak them a little bit here and there to get exactly what you want out of them. It's a bit like, I'm not sure whether if anyone notices on the road, a lot of cars get repurposed after a while. You just notice little elements of certain vehicles bought back again, and they're just rehashing the same thing. And products are no different. I mean, how many times can you change a piece of clothing around or a piece of denim? There's always sort of throwbacks to a retro version. So having that ability to at least have 12 months worth of campaigning and then moving it on to the next year and just repurposing it in a different way can be very cost effective through an agency.
Comment from Wendy Dawson, our president, Michael, saying absolutely agencies are great. However, if you're not able to engage an agency, do you have some tips for content creation?
Yes, have a look at Dollar Shave Club, Michael Dubin, who came up with, he wrote his own script, come up with something creative. If you're creative enough, it doesn't cost much to put a video together. I mean, you know, today you can go out and buy a GoPro for about $60, a set of lights for almost next to nothing, and away you go. As long as you've got a script, you can easily storyboard it. And if you've got some talent there that can really display your product or your service, or talk about your service and communicate that way, and draw some circles around what your campaigns are going to look like on a monthly basis is pretty simple. So there's very simple steps that you can follow, and I've got that in our ebook online, which you can have a look at, and that'll give you a little bit more understanding of how these processes can be implemented by yourselves or anyone for that matter. It just takes a little bit of energy and a bit of time, but planning is a critical component, and then execution.
Fantastic. I'm going to move away from the creative because you might be giving Wendy some ideas, and I really don't want to be out in my bell bottoms.
Right.
For the ad for NBN. Michael, I want to take you back to the database marketing that you said was a really important part of what you're doing here. I just, look, you know, marketing 101, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You know, when you start to segment your database, are you suggesting keeping it simple or going down to, you know, finite detail?
So what we tend to do internally here, and what we recommend to our clients, startups, even businesses that have been around for a while that have never really sort of embraced the whole database process, is to get them into a little bit of a routine. What I mean by that is start to get them connected with their existing database. And start to work out who engages what. Now, there are lots of tools out there that provide you analytical information as to who's opening what. MailChimp's a really good one. You know, for a small cost, you could import your entire database, send out newsletters, and work out where there's interest from each party, and then start breaking those various groups into their various sections. So if you're doing I guess a product campaign on, let's say, men's shoes as opposed to women's shoes, you'll probably find most men will probably open up that newsletter as opposed to women opening it up. So starting to segment out, you know, by gender, by demographic, I guess age groups is a good start, and then interests is critical as well. And that way you're really talking to your specific audience without sort of just shooting in the air and expecting everyone to open it up. And that's a really quick way to lose a lot of your database by not speaking to them. So recipients these days generally expect all of their information when it does land in their inbox, especially if it's a newsletter, to be on point. The information needs to be pertinent to them, and that's fair. Generally, if you're not getting information that's pertinent to you, you'll probably unsubscribe from that newsletter, and that comes down to just poor management of the database. It's critical to really provide that right information to the right person at any time. So we start off there, and then we move on to sort of creating content around them and building that database through various other channels to attract a larger database so you can communicate to your audience. So it's much easier having a database that you can communicate to than what it is to go out and start searching for new clients. Keeping people engaged is a critical component.
So Michael, if I was to summarize this, are you sort of going down the path of having an overall message that you want to deliver that's going to have one ultimate, serve one ultimate goal for that year, and then tailoring the different aspects of the communication around that? For instance, most people want more business, right? So if your ultimate goal is to create more businesses or increase your sales by X percentage or your customer base by X percentage, is that what you're talking about as the ultimate goal, and feeding the segmented database with that information?
Yeah, so the ultimate goal is to drive traffic, brand awareness, and ultimately ending in a conversion. So, creating these touch points by people understanding what your brand's about is critical. Then the messaging, and then the educational piece, and then the purchase. So there's 4 touch points there. And what you need to do in order to try and keep growing that traffic is really coming up with creative ways over 6 to a 12-month period, is creating campaigns that basically include Google, which a lot of people use. I mean, everyone uses Google or Bing to find products or services. So you need to be relevant and on point. Creating campaigns within those opportunities, and then driving traffic to your website whereby people are prepared to subscribe. So providing educational pieces, providing good information and content, and providing interesting, video content, which is a huge driver of traffic. So that all culminates into direct flow into whether they purchase on the day or not, at least they're in your database, and there's an opportunity for you to keep communicating, and eventually that should result in some type of a sale. It's worth mentioning between 5 to 10% of a business's earnings does basically come from a database. So if you manage your database well, you should expect between 5 and 10% revenue growth from that database at some point through the year per annum. So having a massive or a large database is critical to the process.
Okay, making lots of notes here.
Yeah.
There's someone like the NBN, if I could use us just a little bit indulgently, just for 1 second, as a bit of a case in point. We're a membership organisation, so we're selling the opportunity to network and connect and do all that sort of thing, which is a little bit different to selling a professional service. For those people that are out in different kinds of businesses, is there a different trick to doing what you're talking about, or is it the same philosophy?
It's the same. The principles are always the same, and where there's a want, there's a need, and if you are an organisation based or a service based or a product based business, the chances are that there are people out there looking for your types of services. So isolating where those opportunities lie is first and foremost, and that's working with an agency to try and work out exactly where they are. The way you do it is literally look at some of your competitors, have a look at what they're doing, and then start drawing some circles around those various touch points and how you're going to communicate those pieces of information to the right audience. So if you're a service-based industry, for example, you might need to provide some educational pieces. So if someone's looking, let's say for an immigration lawyer, for example, they've typed in an immigration lawyer, what is the immigration process? So you might have an ebook, for example, that really explains it in full detail. Once they've become familiar with it, they will make contact, and that there automatically provides you an opportunity or your client to type in their details. That automatically goes into your database, and there's your first lead straight away, and also a connection point for people to keep receiving ongoing information. Some things certain products and services take a longer time to convert, for the reason is they are either a larger ticket item and require a bit of research before they make a decision, or they can be as simple as my tap is broken and I need someone to come over and fix it quickly. So that's a quick decision. So it's all relative, but at the end of the day, you really need to get out there and follow those steps. Which are no different to any whether it's as I said, product, service based, it's critical that you do follow those processes. They're the same pretty much, but database growth is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's some great advice there. We've got a lot of our members that provide professional development and mental health support and that type of thing. So that's an important part of providing that education as well as what they're offering. In line with that, and talking about a newsletter, is your view that the newsletter content is kept separate to all the events or Zoom and all those sort of interactions that people are having now in terms of advertising?
Yeah, look, newsletters are really, something that you look at in a way that if you've got something to say or there's something new that you could certainly share with your existing database, you do that. So if you've got a range of products and it only suits a particular segment of your database, by all means share it and make sure that it's packaged up in a way that it obviously tells a story and connects with your potential client as well. So that's an important element in terms of communicating your product or your service for that matter.
Thanks, Michael, for that clarification. You also mentioned regularity when you're talking about getting that communication out there. Now, we all know, because we've been locked away for some period of time, that everybody is, promoting Zoom and a whole lot of other activities and information online, because, we haven't been able to get out and about and shake hands as much as normal. So, in a normal environment, when you're talking about regularity of these EDMs or e-communications, what would you recommend?
Well, I recommend once a month is more than enough. But again, it really is important. What newsletters really do, they keep everyone aware that you're there, but also there's a trade-off where you really need to provide some pertinent information. There's nothing worse than getting or receiving a newsletter that streams on for, nearly 2,000 words. I've had those in the past and I can't really get past the second paragraph, especially in the morning. So breaking it up with a little bit of content really underpins your brand, making sure that your logos are always there, making sure that it's always on point and the messaging is always true to form and in line with your brand and tone of your company really underpins who you are, what you do, and when someone is ready to take action on one of your services, they'll certainly give you a call or purchase one of your products. They'll action it straight away. And it really does, as I say, it's more brand awareness as well, which is a critical part in making sure when that decision process comes about that you're front and centre.
Absolutely, and Melbourne Business Network very aware of brand awareness, given the work that you've done for us on our branding. It's been fabulous.
Thank you.
Michael, I'd like to now talk about the future. What are the trends? What does the future look like around all of this?
So the future really is moving forward. We've had 21% of growth year on year since 2019. 2020's grown very rapidly. Online sales have increased dramatically. Now, when you start looking at these types of figures, it's 21% growth in a year online is massive. So my understanding is it's sitting at around $22 million at the moment in online sales. Let me just have a quick look here. So yeah, $22 million in online sales is quite a bit of money when you're talking about product, and that's not even looking at services. The services are completely different. This is just product alone within Australia. So it's growing. When you start talking those figures, that's very, very high. So having I guess a website that really communicates exactly what people are looking for is critical, and that user experience is really important, and most importantly is having a hierarchy that breaks down that people can relate to. So when they do go to Google and they type in a particular key phrase or a search term, is that they do land on that page that has that information. The last thing they want to look at is a ream of information talking about the company before they actually look at the product. So what they want to do is look at the product and the service, and if they have any interest, they will look at who you are, what you do, and how you came to be. So that's a secondary part of your hierarchy. But more importantly, it needs to be on point in terms of the keyword search terms. So there are ways of making sure that happens, and connecting the right person to your website by way of creating a campaign, but more importantly is structuring your website in the development process that provides that information in the back end. So the moment someone lands on your page, they know exactly what they're looking at straight away. So trends are more gearing towards really on point messaging, fast, quick, efficient. People are very time poor at the moment, and they're using the internet to find what they need far more often than what they ever have. I know myself, I'm very time poor, and for me to go out shopping or to even look for a service, it's you know, it's an ordeal. I couldn't walk even on a weekend. I don't have time to sort of walk around and do stuff. So I'm happy to buy local and happy to do all the right things within, you know, within Melbourne or wherever the case might be. If I can find it locally, no problem, I'll buy it and have it delivered straight to me. I buy things locally at the moment, just bits and pieces, you know, that I use regularly and have them delivered regularly, only for the reason is that I'm time poor. So having things set up correctly and allowing people the ability to do them really quickly and efficiently is definitely the way forward in terms of websites and product sales and services for that matter.
It's almost a catch-22, isn't it? Have we become time poor, or have we become so busy we've become time poor?
Well, that's right, and that's the thing. So I guess you have to ask yourself, how often would you go out and physically buy a shirt and, you know, go to a destination just for one shirt, or would you jump online really quickly and find what you want locally, and then you might pop in or decide to buy it online? So there's lots of opportunity even locally if you have set yourself up correctly. So there's two types of client. You do have shoppers that are more than happy to come straight past your high street shop and walk in, no issue, that are not too au fait with the internet. And then you have the other type who are happy to jump online, find exactly what they're looking for, and then if they choose, they can come down, either try on something or purchase the service, or call you directly, and that's being time efficient. So being prepared is critical in these times.
Absolutely. Online shopping is going nuts, and particularly when we've been experiencing something like COVID. Anyway, point taken last week around your case study in the wine shop. I think I contributed to the economic development of the wine industry. Michael, I just wanted to close off by getting a little bit more insight from you around the future of all of this, given that we have been, you know, locked up for a while. I know a lot of people are keen to get out. What do you think the appetite is for people to continue down this track? And I just want to take it from a sort of almost a strategic or global perspective. You think about, particularly if you're looking at under the canopy, like your retail stores, and, you know, for a long time we've heard companies like Nike are not going to have a whole lot of destination shop, a lot of shops in different locations. They'll have a destination shop with one of everything in it, and by the time you walk out, you know, someone's in on a courier bike or truck delivering it, whatever it is, from the warehouse to your home or office. So, you know, how's that, you know, that was always looking like the future, but, you know, what's your view on this as the future versus, you know, us being in this lockdown and keen to get out and about again?
Well, that's the reality of it at the moment, is people are, as well, if they weren't used to it prior to COVID, they certainly are used to it now, and online shopping has certainly become a massive trade in terms of people, literally learning and purchasing online very quickly and efficiently. So moving forward from here, you will find that is going to increase. As I said, 21% growth year on year, that's massive. So if you look at that in the next 5 years, you're looking at, a few $100 million if you compound that over time. And given the population's at 25.5 million, it certainly has momentum, and it's gearing towards more online shopping. You'll probably notice that there have been a lot of retail and fashion stores that have really just decided, you know what, we'll move away from our high street shop and we'll reduce the amount of stores we have, and we'll have destination stores that people can walk into and, get that tactile component out of the way. But more importantly, what they're trying to do is really get people into the whole online space. So there's more of that coming. In the next 10 years, you'll see that there'll be a massive push towards everything being digitalized.
Yeah, interesting world we live in. It'll be interesting to see if that increase that you're talking about is a spike, or if it continues that trajectory as we go forward. I know Australia Post are enjoying all this extra traffic they're getting, although they might not be managing it as efficiently as perhaps they thought they might. But then again, that gives Sendle and all the others a whole lot of opportunity, doesn't it?
It does. And look, they're trying their hardest, but they have been inundated over the last 6 months with unprecedented orders. Now, if you have a look at their orders this time last year, it was less than half. So during COVID, people have been actioning their purchase impulse to buy through various websites, which has really actioned them as well. And they've been quite short-staffed, from my understanding, over the last 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. All the more reason to make sure that your e-commerce is set up correctly, and that's driving those visitors to your website so that they will buy. Michael, thank you so much for your time today and for the information that you shared over the last 3 weeks around designing your website with WebOracle. I really want to thank you for your insights and the case studies that you shared also.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. And next year, we've also got some additional marketing webinars that we're putting together that really give you an opportunity to understand how they work and how you can cater them specifically for your business so you can actually get a return on investment. So stay tuned.
We will. Fabulous information as always, and hopefully we'll be able to do that face to face. Wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be fantastic. Look forward to it.
Okay, everybody, that concludes our webinar for today. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. As I mentioned at the beginning, a copy of this presentation will be available for you, as well as the whole series. We might actually try and splice them together in one hit for you. I'd also like to let you know that WebOracle have a fabulous offer for everybody that's joined the series, and that is an introductory website requirements audit, which I think is a fabulous thing to be doing, particularly if you want to be doing that. Oh, maybe you guys are really busy, but who knows, over the Christmas, January break, so that you can get ready for 2021. Now, remember everybody to connect with MBN on LinkedIn. Wendy's dropped their LinkedIn URLs into the chat box, so please make sure you connect with us if you haven't already. Melbourne Business Network is committed to helping you grow your business. So please join our community and take advantage of all the connections you can make, and the opportunity when you become a member to have the opportunity to talk about your business and the success stories that you have there. I will be emailing everybody with a copy of the presentation and connecting with you. For those that you are not members, you will also get a little incentive to join us today. So I'll be in contact, as I said, later today. Next week, please join us. We are switching gears a little bit, and we're talking about mental health awareness with Ian Goodhart, where we will discover some simple steps to enhance the mental well-being of you and your staff so that you can have a better experience in the workplace and enhance the overall productivity and profitability of your business. So that's next Tuesday at 2 p.m. But for now, on behalf of WebOracle and the Melbourne Business Network, stay safe, stay connected, stay in touch, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody.